Hey guys, we're just popping in real quick to start this episode off with a trigger warning. We do get into some heavier topics on this one. It's not common that we have to do this. There's a lot of really happy, really great self-help episodes out there for you to consume if this is too much for you. But
if you are sensitive to child abuse or any sort of sexual assault or any dark topics pertaining to that, then I would highly recommend exiting out of this episode and going and checking out pretty much any of our other episodes.
Yeah.
But this one is a little bit dark. Hello world, and welcome to episode 15 of In the Flow. We are your hosts, the Eureka Effect. My name is Courtney.
And my name is Hannah. And we are back after a little bit of a hiatus. There's so much going on in the world right now. And I wanted to, I warned Courtney that I'm going to cold open her with this headline. And we're just going to go into a discussion because I am mind blown right now.
Oh my god, I'm scared.
Judges deny November request to remove Brittany Spears' father as her co-conservator.
What?
This morning.
Are you kidding me? I thought, I haven't really been keeping up with it, but I thought she was, on the verge of being free or something.
So, the 23rd was her first time testifying herself. And she gave, I've done a little research, obviously. She gave a 24-minute testimony on the conservatorship and what it's been like for her, basically saying it's abuse and whatever. Have you heard the clips of it on TikTok?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Wait, it was on the 23rd. I feel like I haven't been into the...
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
The realm.
Yeah.
So that's good, because then I can explain to the viewers or the listeners as we go too. So she basically testified saying everything that we thought was true, that she wasn't allowed to do certain things, that she was very drugged up on, I think it was a Work the World, or sorry, that's RuPaul's Drag Race, sorry. It's her Vegas show. She was very drugged up. She was forced to work 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And she said in the state of California, by the guidelines, the only thing that's similar to that is human trafficking, where they don't let this person have a break, they have no access to their money, blah, blah, blah. So she wants to sue also the state of California as well as her parents, obviously, because how the heck is this going on? But I feel like maybe that's why they shut down this, because obviously if she sues the state of California, that's human trafficking in a lot of ways. She, as far as we know right now, wasn't
made to do sexual acts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she was forced to work day in and day out. You know what I mean? That's a hell of a toll on your body. And she also, right now, she has a boyfriend, or I don't know if they're engaged or whatever, but they want to have a kid together, and she has an IUD in, and they won't let her get it out.
What?
They don't.
I don't know how that's legal. That so can anybody put a conservatorship
on? I think there has to
your parents can do that to you, or how to be
some sort of stipulation with drugs or whatever, right? And that's how it starts.
Oh, you don't know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, or mental illness. I think is what hers is that she's bipolar, so she can't she's not capable of. I don't know.
Taking care of herself?
Yeah, because she's obviously capable of working to them. Yeah. She's, going out. But, yeah, she's not allowed to have access to her money. And there's a whole other... obviously she doesn't go anywhere. And, she can't go anywhere with her boyfriend. And it's crazy that I don't know, the judge tossed it out.
It's crazy that her dad is such a fucking demon, and the whole world knows what you're doing, and then the state just goes ahead and betrays her again. That's crazy. Everybody knows what's going on here.
I know, it's such a huge viral, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Story. This is similar to what's going on with I think it's not Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes. So her parents have her in a conservatorship too. But she doesn't have as much, obviously, traction with her story and whatever. But conservatorships are something that obviously is a problem in Hollywood, because child actors, if the parents can get a hold of their money and their kids ever see them, there's a lot of parents that are sign me up.
Yeah, and it's because it's most I don't know this for sure, but I feel like most parents that push their children into child acting are living vicariously through them.
It's kind of like the pageant mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeanette McCurdy, I was watching her on a podcast, and she was talking about how there is there's a union and like an actors guild, so there are things in place now and papers that you sign where your parents get, I think, whatever percentage of the money, and then another percentage gets put away, and you get it when you're 18. But she was a kid, and when she went to like go collect that money, they were basically like, oh, those papers were never filed, like there's nothing here, and she got screwed over that way.
Like Brittany or Amanda?
No, this is Jeanette McCurdy, the girl off iCarly.
Okay.
She's going around and talking about her experience with Nickelodeon.
I remember that going on.
But the child star like realm is crazy.
It's disturbing. I don't know if I watched it with you or not, but I watched that movie. I think it's Bruno, or
I don't think I've seen that.
It's I don't remember the name of the actor, but he does all these like weird zany characters, and he does like kind of like skits, and I don't know if it's real, like with real people. Like I think the people aren't in on it because he's just acting ridiculous.
And it's like a public prank movie kind of thing.
Yes, and he set up like an audition for babies, like for a commercial or for a show, and he was like asking the parents ridiculous stuff, and most of the parents were agreeing to it, like disturbing, like I think it was like dressing the baby up like a Nazi or doing like weird blackface and like stuff like that.
Wow.
I don't really, it was a while ago that I watched it, but it was like, it's sick that people are so keen to like sign their child away. Like for what? Is it for money, or is it for this weird like idolization protege type, like
for like the fame and stuff?
How can you see a child especially all these child actors that are now adults, like any person that's grown up seeing what happened to Britney or Amanda Bynes or anything like that has children now, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It's
like,
so
look
true.
how much it messes them up. Like,
for sure.
Hillary Duff's like the only one that like skated out clean.
I know,
as far as we know.
And but I'm sure that if she sat down and did like a tell-all, that we would be horrified with some of the stipulations of the set and stuff. Especially because back then, I feel like things were.
Oh, but I think they just got away with whatever and did whatever they want. Like now in the age of like social media, I don't think that like there's as much of like a platform for like this, or back then there wasn't as much of a platform for like
the Brittany Spears.
Like the movements and like for them to like voice their opinion without going to like the media. And I'm sure that they have like contracts and stuff signed and whatever else to keep them quiet.
Oh God, yeah. It's so interesting when you look at, like, child stars, because there's a lot of them that their parents were famous too, like Miley Cyrus, we'll say the Smith kids. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, where they, like, I don't think the Smith kids have been in any scandals. I think that Willow's going through one right now that I'm not versed in, so I'm not going to talk about it. But Jaden hasn't, has he?
Oh, well, the only thing that I remember hearing is something weird about, like, it's more Jada and Will, like, being weird to their kids or whatever, Jaden's, like, kissing Will on the lips and stuff. Do you remember hearing about that? Like, weird kind of...
like, Hollywood initiation rumor
kind
of thing?
Well, like, I think it's just, like, photos of them kissing on the lips when he's, like, too old. Like, you might kiss your little boy on the lips, but I think, like, it becomes weird at a certain age. Like, you don't kiss your parents on the lips anymore.
Yeah, when you're in your 20s. It's not.
Or even, like, teens and stuff. Like, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, do you remember Willow Smith was in a scandal back when she was, I think she was really young. And she was, like, in a picture snuggled up to this guy who was in his 20s, who was a Disney star, Moises Aries, I think his name is. He was on Hannah Montana. He was, like, the annoying kid. Anyway, but yeah, there was pictures of them, like...
canoodling?
Yeah, it was definitely, like, weird. Like, I can understand children like to cuddle and whatever, but as a 20-year-old man, you need to shut that down, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's an age where it's like, okay, like, everyone...
Yeah, or like if she's a kid, like a 6-year-old kid, but it becomes weird once it's like post-pubescent, like, I don't know.
It was very like sus, you know what I mean? Like, especially with a parent taking the picture, but who knows, and putting it on the internet. It was just all very sus. But whatever.
I heard some shit about Jada and Will, but it's like I can't really remember exactly what it was, but like some weird Hollywood cult-esque shit. And if you think about it, like Will Smith was in the limelight since he was young.
It's
like the repeated cycle of like weird Hollywood abuse.
Definitely. They're like almost, I mean, I feel like no one's gonna hear this anyway, but they're almost like manufactured families, you know what I mean? And like I don't want anyone to be like, oh, they're real people and you're dehumanizing, but I don't know, I feel like there's a level of fame that if you're living in it for that long, these generational celebrities like Kylie Jenner and you know what I mean? I don't know, there's just something
you grow up with cameras flashing, like I just don't know how you would interpret the world growing up famous. Like I feel like you'd have no sort of, you'd be so out of touch.
I was gonna say, how do you find authenticity when
you have you are on center stage 24/7, like you don't have the privacy of like going through, like, I don't know, you always have to be on your best behavior or, like, live up to a certain standard that you have set for yourself, and it's kind of like, you're under a microscope. Yeah. So, like, you don't have the option to make mistakes or, well, you do, but if you do...
everyone's gonna hear it. Look how they treated freaking Britney when she supposedly had sex with Justin Timberlake after she said she was gonna save herself. Like, that is all so fucking private. Yeah. That is so private. I would be horrified if someone called, because there was a point when I was, you know what I mean, in my early teens where I thought I was going to save myself for marriage. That didn't happen. If I got put on blast for that in front of the entire country, like...
Well, think of like how much shame affects like even you, like everybody I think goes through... I wouldn't say everybody, but yeah, probably you have your own, like, struggles that you go through, especially when you're a teenager, that is, like, due to shame, whatever generational curses or whatever else, like, when you are kind of growing up, you have that sort
manifesting
of... and, like, I just couldn't imagine not only, like, having that shame from your parents or your peers or your schoolmates, but, like, everyone... watching you on center stage in the world, shaming you on the internet and in tabloids and like everything else, like every little mistake that you make is put on blast, and then the full-grown adults are putting children on blast. Like, it's just fucked. Like, I can't imagine the psychological damage that has to a person.
Yeah, the whole like child actor thing, it's like we need, I guess, age-appropriate actors in some ways, but, like, should any child be working under 18, even if it is acting? Like, what is the, like, they're 15-hour days. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, acting in a way is almost...
Well, it's like you don't make, children, like, a lot of the times children have to be a certain age to work, like, in most... Well, provinces and over in the States as well. Like, there's a law to protect children, but it just doesn't go for child actors. Like, that's fucked up.
Most of the laws, honestly, I think in America do revolve around money. And, like, there are laws where children under a certain age can work at family businesses, but it's for a very small, like... I don't know, it's like 4 hours a week or something like that. And it's basically a tax break, so you don't have, like, the income that you're giving to your child is not taxable. And so a lot of times rich people will do that and, like, get their kids started early working. But, like I said,
like a loophole.
Yeah, exactly. And which, I mean... If you want to get your kid involved in the family business, sure, absolutely, 4 hours a week, or, you know what I mean, here and there.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to work with my parents and see what they were doing every day, and that's fine, but to employ a child on a set for, whatever, I don't know, 3 months a movie might take, and to have them work, 12 to 15-hour days, that's a little fucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's
my God. You don't have time to be a kid. Like, you don't have time to to discover yourself or like kind of go through that normal like childhood sort of like blossoming into an adult, like that's kind of just stripped away. It's kind of weird because if you're acting, like you're playing pretend, and it's kind of like you're spending all your time as this character,
and then
your brain's developing
identity. Oh my god,
like
I struggle with that, and I wasn't a child actor.
That's crazy to think about, that like they're spending so much time in this role. Like, how would that mentally affect a child that's developing their personality?
That affects like adults, you know what I mean? So a child, it's a whole different story. I feel like if it was like a child did one movie, it's like summer camp, you know, you get 3 months, maybe they think it's fun, sure, I can kind of see it. But like these kids that have project after project after project lined up, and like are obviously just workhorses for their parents,
or like Brittany a show, like a TV show, like I don't, that is fucked up. Like I don't think that a child should be a TV star, but I understand doing a movie or whatever, because the sad thing is you don't know if the child is actually passionate about acting, or the parent just brainwashed them into that from a young age. Because like I do believe that like there's a lot of people that are passionate about acting. Think of like TikTok, like there's tons of young people that
want to get into that. Definitely, I think there's a lot of genuine, and it might start from a genuine place a lot of the time, but it's when the money gets involved that it's like, what is going on here?
And the contracts are signed. Like I'm sure there's a lot of good parents that put their children into acting, that's seen the fuckery going on behind the scenes and seeing what it's actually about, and pulled their children out of it, or kind of like just kind of said fuck this shit and protected their child. But then there's like the other group of parents that are like seeing the money come in and not really valuing like their child's psychological
well-being.
I
think that maybe, you know how like employers look for a certain type of person to employ, I think that also Hollywood knows the archetype in a family to pick out to gain control, because I think that's really partially what happened with Jeanette McCurdy and like Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato. Both of them have single mom households. You know what I mean? So I almost, and like Jeanette talks about being very poor. Britney's family was very poor, and these producers or these whoever discovered them, and you know what I mean, thrusted them into this fame. It's like, well, that's predatory. You're preying not only on a child, you're preying on their parents.
Just like a cult.
A
cult leader.
Sucked,
So it's almost like sometimes it's not so much the parents being like wicked and vile, it's that they're falling victim into...
And they're having a veil like put over their eyes.
Exactly, because the big Hollywood producers making all these promises and painting this sort of life. And especially like the money when you're poor, like... Cult leaders prey on people at their lowest moments, and I think that would be like a similar structure for Hollywood producers. Is that power dynamic that's there.
Selena Gomez, when like Selena and Demi talk about their experience and how they got on with Disney, like they, like I said, emphasize that, you know, their moms were doing it alone and taking them to auditions and stuff like that. It's like, I could use a break right now as a single person without a kid. You know what I mean? Imagine having this dependent and the promise of, oh, well, she'll be set up. She'll be set up too when she's 18. Like it's vile. It's giving me like chills, because it's predatory.
It is. And like I understand that like children need entertainment, but like I don't know, like, I just don't feel like there should be these, like, Hannah Montana, fucking Wizards of Waverly Place type shows. Like, I think, well, you know what? It's, like, it's weird to think of it like a life without those type of shows. Like, what is, like, a young preteen, like, late...
supposed to consume for, like, entertainment content. Because, like, it can be educational. I was just going to say, when you're pointing out, like, should kids be watching like Hannah Montana shows, we could do like animated shows, but at the same time I don't think it's great for your brain development to only see animated people. I think it's good for, but maybe we shouldn't be watching TV at all. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Well, realistically,
maybe like, that's truly the answer.
Well, I guess if you want to get into like the whole like television is like brainwashing, or like television fucking it's not even conspiracy, like that is what your subconscious is constantly digesting.
Oh yeah,
so sure. It's like, I don't want to sit here and say like, oh, like a fucking, like, I don't even know what age group would even be fucking against TV. If there's boomer. Well, I don't know, would boomers even, they grew up with like cartoons and shit. Like, I don't even, there is a select group of people that are like anti. Go outside and yeah, and sure. Like, I am not all the way on the opposing side saying like TV is complete trash and we should not be watching it, and if I had kids I wouldn't let them watch it. Like, I don't really know, because I do enjoy, like, it's entertainment, right? And
like I was saying before, storytelling is such an art. Like, to sit around the campfire and hear a story, now we have the opportunity. Movies are amazing to see them visually, like books. They're all great ways to consume that, so I can't imagine us being like, no, get rid of it. You know what I mean? Because it's innovation, it's technology, like that is part of our evolution, exactly, that we should be proud of. And
because it is kind of like, it came from, there used to be like, well, there still is plays, but plays were like the main form of entertainment, and like obviously reading books, and then it kind of evolved to TV. But I think the problem is the Hollywood elite, or the people pulling the fucking strings, caught on to the power of television, and like how it can like alter your subconscious, because there's things planted even in like children's Disney fucking movies and stuff like that. Like it's hypersexualized.
I say, even if you watch like the Hannah Montanas and stuff, it's like they're all talking about dating and blah blah blah, and like it seems innocent, but at the same time, when you're watching that day in and day out, it's like, that truly is not what life's about. Like, we are so programmed to get into a relationship and get a job, and you know what I mean? And you can tell just by watching. Yeah,
because the structures of how families are set up on TV, and even when you're young, like, as much as you want to say like TV doesn't affect me, and I know it's not real, it does affect you. It affects your subconscious. It affects what you think is normal, because when you're a kid, you spend a lot of time like you kind of go through the phase where like your family is normal, and then you start seeing other family dynamics, and then you start questioning like, oh, my family does this different. Like, what is normal? Like, do you remember kind of going through that process of figuring out, like, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's kind of like you start questioning the structures around you, and like the dynamics around you, and it's kind of like,
I think it was like probably around grade 3, I would say, where I started to like, because especially where I grew up in a multicultural like area, we all like to talk about shit that our families did, and we were curious, you know what I mean? It's like, well, your family eats that, my family eats this, what does your family do when this? Like, it's just, there's something, it's the curiosity, I guess. Like, when you're a kid, you want to absorb everything and understand, like, how everything works, you know what I mean? Or I did, I guess.
Yeah, oh, me too. Like, but I think that it took me a little bit, like, I remember when I started to realize that, like, my family wasn't necessarily doing it, like, the right way. Because it was kind of like, I would look around and think that other dynamics were weird. And then I started to realize, like, maybe some dynamics in my family were kind of strange. Or whatever. Like, But, that being said, like, going back to, like, the TV, like, that will play a huge part in what you perceive as, like, normal, or you might idolize it because it is presented in a certain way. So you're, even though you know it's TV, like, I think that there's a part of you that's, like, I don't know, like, basing your sense of normalcy or what you want out of life, or kind of, like, I don't know, like, it does affect. You can even, like, I remember watching, like, Hannah Montana, like, you can tell, oh, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, oh, yeah, she's famous. Or she lives a double life. Like, obviously that's
not realistic.
But, like, within that, like, you see, like, the father-daughter relationship and this and that. Like, those are all kind of imprinting on your subconscious.
Yeah, for sure. How interesting is that that we had a child star playing a child star on a show that we watched. Like, what a friggin' matrix we live in.
Literally, that is strange.
That just kind of hit me now. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can take a break to read off our sponsor today.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, and we're back. So we were talking about how, like, as you get older, like, you start to discover that maybe your family dynamic isn't quote-unquote normal, or, like, how you go through the process of, like, unlearning whatever family dynamics that were put in place as a child. And that reminded me of a documentary that I watched last night called Tell Me Who I Am. And to sum it up in a nutshell, essentially these two twin brothers, identical twin brothers, one of them got in a motorcycle crash when he was 18, and it completely wiped his memory. The only person that he could remember was his twin brother. And when he first woke up out of the hospital, he was like, oh, like Marcus, and his mother was right there, and he couldn't remember his mother, and he couldn't remember anything. So basically when they got back home, Marcus had to teach Alex, the one who lost his memory.
Sorry, I'm interrupting right quick. This is a documentary,
This is a documentary on Netflix. Like, anybody can watch it. So, spoilers, I'm going to just kind of sum it up in a nutshell quickly, because it relates heavy to the whole unlearning family dynamics. So, essentially, Marcus has to reteach everything to Alex. And so it started with, like, the basic stuff, like where stuff is, how to brush your teeth, where your clothes are at, like kind of eased him back into becoming himself. And then Alex started to get curious and, like, ask questions about like their family dynamic, because he would see stuff on TV and realize that, like, that doesn't line up
with what he's seeing at home.
Yes, and like things were kind of like weird for him. But anything that Marcus told him, he didn't question. So, like, he would look back on family photos and, like, basically, like, what happened was Marcus created a life for Alex that never existed based off of, like, very few, like, little family photos that they had. And he kind of, like, tried to, like, shield Alex from the abuse that they went through and painted Alex a whole new life. And Alex was so happy-go-lucky and, like, kind of trusted Marcus fully. And it wasn't until they were in their 30s, when their parents both died, they were going through the house. And, like, whenever shit wouldn't add up, like, Alex just kind of accepted it, because it's kind of like what you do with your parents, though. You know what I mean? Like, like, he kind of, like, Alex told him something, and that was just plain
truth.
Yes, like, he took it, like, at face value. He believed everything Marcus had to say, because
no reason
it was his twin. It was his other half, and it was kind of like his,
and
like,
he really had no other choice. It's like, what are you gonna do? Run away from home and find a stranger?
Or, like, I don't know, maybe why he didn't question things more. Like, he would kind of, like, prod a little bit, and then Marcus would kind of be like, no, like,
this is the way it is.
This is the way that it is.
How old were they when this?
They were 18, and they were still living at home, but, like, they were made to go sleep out in the shed, and, like, they weren't allowed in a bunch of rooms, and they didn't, like, have dinner with their mom and dad, and the dad was very, like, allowed and not, I don't know if he was necessarily physically abusive when they were older, but the mom was always, like, very eccentric and a little bit, like, out there, but Alex, like, loved her dearly, but Marcus always was weird. Like, Marcus never bonded with either of his parents, but he let Alex do that, and it come to find out that, like, the mother, like, sexually abused them and sex trafficked them. And, like, they were, another weird thing is they were, like, aristocrats. I can't say that word.
Yeah.
Like, they were like high, like, they always had, like, dukes and duchesses over at their house, and they came from wealthy families, and
but they were still being made to, like, sleep out in the barn and all this
yes
stuff?
Well, the kids were, and, like, the mom, like, whenever they got Christmas presents, they found all of their Christmas presents still wrapped in the attic, like, with their names on it, and, like, Alex was like, what the fuck is going on? And then what really, like, sent Alex over the edge was they found a little box in the back of the mother's wardrobe, and inside the box they found the key. There was a picture of them naked with their heads tore off. And then Alex was like, what? Were we sexually abused? Oh, my God. Like yeah, me too. Talking about it. It's crazy. It's a crazy documentary. And Marcus just said yes, and he wouldn't open up about it. He absolutely would not talk about it. And it drove Alex kind of crazy. Like, they still remained, like, bonded, but Alex always felt like they were never whole. fully connected. Like, he used that term. Like, he's like,
yeah,
I want to know so we can be
sure.
connected again. We know everything about each other. And Marcus said, this isn't about you, it's about me. Because what happened was, when he was painting this life for Alex, he was burying the trauma because he pretended, yes, like they started like doing what they seen on the TV. Like, when it was Mom's birthday, they would get her a cake or make her a cake and sing happy birthday, and like, so he rebonded with his parents as much as he could and completely believed the life that he set out for
Alex.
Because it was his way of coping. So it was a very strange sort of like, I don't know, it's interesting because, like, for one, like, just looking at the human consciousness, like, it's strange that he only remembered his twin, and, like, this kind of unfolded the way that it did because it also helped Marcus get through his trauma, while Alex had a better life, in a sense, because he never knew what went on, but then it kind of crushed him at the end to find out.
I was gonna say, so are they, like, talking?
Yes, like, the first time that Marcus ever talked about it, he couldn't say it to Alex's face. He, like, said it to the camera and got Alex to just watch it, and, like, because he wouldn't say any detail.
Heartbreaking. Wow.
Yeah, like, basically the mom would, like, make them like do stuff with each other and then do stuff to them, and then when she sex trafficked them, it was never together, it was always alone, one at a time. She'd bring them out one at a time. Like,
that's so I can't, like, first of all, there's so much to unpack here.
I know.
Holy crap. First of all, the idea of, like, having amnesia has always fascinated me because I feel like it's very romanticized.
Yeah.
In movies and so on. And I, actually, someone we worked with went through that, and, like, they ended up bringing, like, some of their memory came back, but it was very interesting to talk to someone who's, like, gone through that, because, like, that is earth-shattering and traumatic, to say the least.
If you, like, it's you should really watch it. Like, hearing his, like, he's like, I had nothing to hold on to. I had no memory to ground me. The only person, like, he was lucky to remember his twin, but he had so much blind trust.
Yeah, it's like, and, like, blacking out, quote unquote. Like, that's the only thing I could equate it to, and that's like losing bits and pieces of a night. But, like, wow, that must be a crazy feeling.
It's interesting because he went through these, like, little, I don't know what you would call it, but, like, questioning the reality around you, like, that you go through as a child. He was doing that again because he was talking about how he compare his dynamic to the dynamics on TV, and that's basically all he had to go off of was what he seen in front of him. And, like, he kind of always knew that shit was weird, like, in the household, like, but he never asked questions. He just, like, basically whatever Marcus told him to do, he just accepted it as that and went along with it. But, like, those questions were in the back of his head, like, as any kid. It's like the same dynamic going through that twice, but I don't know, it's very interesting because, like, Alex was hurt and felt betrayed.
Well, yeah, I would think so, because, like, when I look back on traumas, there's a lot of times where I need someone else to relate the story to me because I invalidate myself. So I'm imagining that's probably what he's doing, but instead of Marcus being, like, whatever and trying to bring him through it, he's just detouring it, basically.
Yeah, and he was trying to not only, like, we're just going to take a quick pause here. Sorry, we have hella animals in the building, so we just had to take care of Maddie there for a second, the dog. So what I was saying was Marcus was not only trying to protect Alex, but also trying to protect himself because he was, like, he was not ready to repeat it out loud or kind of, like, acknowledge what happened to him, and it was more therapeutic to go along with the life that he crafted for Alex, and then it went on for so long that it kind of became, like, too big of a thing to ever mention, but
it's kind of like a white lie that almost, like,
but it started as a white lie, but then when Alex started to become, like, ask more questions and kind of, like, dig a little bit deeper, he had to start flat out lying.
Oh my gosh, that's very, very interesting. It's like, I wonder, was Alex mad, like, upset, or
he was
for a while, I would assume.
I can't, like, I kind of didn't really understand, like, So they went from, like, the moment that they found out when they were 32, or sorry, Alex found out when he was 32, and then Marcus basically saying, like, we were sexually assaulted, that's it, like, fucking point blank, and he wouldn't go on from there. And then they have, like, a business together and all this other stuff, but I think they just kind of, like, never really talked about it. Alex would ask more questions, and Marcus would just say, like, no, I'm not ready to talk about it type deal. And it drove, like, Alex crazy. Like, he went, like, searching through their parents' house, like, trying to find, like, answers and wanting to know so bad. And then, like, the final scene of the documentary was them just, like, sitting down and, like, talking about why, like, Marcus was not comfortable talking about it yet, and, like, how Alex felt about it and how much it affected him, and, like, like, Marcus was like, why do you want to know? Like, why do you want to know? Like, and then he's like, so we can be connected again.
I mean, I would understand why he wants to know. It's like, that's something that happened to me. I would like to have awareness of it, because that's still, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe the trauma didn't build up, though. Maybe there was no repercussions, but I would think that, I don't know.
It seems like, honestly, I feel that Alex had a better quality of life because he didn't know.
Yeah,
and
for
he's
sure.
seen, like, he would admit that the dad was, like, an asshole, but he loved his mother. Like, he had no clue, and it was his mother that was the abuser.
Like, he
like,
looked back on her as...
Yeah, so it would be very confusing, because I think, like, the abuse stopped when they were 14, but the accident didn't happen until they were 18. Or, yeah, they were 18. So, like...
That is such a friggin'
They hate... but they did not, like the mom, like, they equally didn't.
Up
and then he just didn't know, and I'm sure she was kind of, like, because she wasn't a predator anymore, because she couldn't sexually abuse them, but she was, like, it sounds like she was, like, a nymphomaniac, like, sex freak. Like, they found a bunch of, like, sex toys, and she would always, like, have these, like...
It was, like, a perverse...
colonels and weird fucking high-status military people write love letters to her, and, like, she was just
wow.
Yeah, and while she was obviously fucking pimping her kids out to fucking high...
people, who wanted to...
Status,
Probably back then. Well, I don't know how long ago this was. I'm assuming it was a while ago. But back then,
came
I
out,
would say...
They're 54, so, like, I don't know. This probably would have happened in, like, the 70s.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's, like, high-profile men who were trying to hide their homosexuality. And that kind of thing that were... That
it was girls and guys that they got pimped out to, but it was men, too, and, like, they were fully, like assaulted,
do whatever.
And then that shit, man, but that they, like, the mom made them do stuff together. That is fucked up. Identical twin brothers.
To watch, I know. It's like, beyond me how a mother... Like, because I feel like you hear, like, a father abusing children all the time, but we never really hear about women abusing their children.
I know.
Especially in a sexual manner. So that is just so especially perverse and just, like, sick to even think about in a lot of ways, truly. We gotta put a big old trigger warning.
I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Trigger warning will be somewhere. We're gonna have to record an intro.
Yeah, literally. I didn't know it was gonna get this dark.
Deep,
but, that is definitely worth a watch, but it's not easy to stomach.
Digest,
it is pretty fucked up, like, on every single level. It is appalling. And, like, you don't know what actually happened to them to the end. And it was shocking to find out that it wasn't something to do with the father, because the way that they painted the mother, because it was Alex that talked first, and he talked, like, he kind of knew something was fucked, but, like, he didn't...
It's like, looking back on it, the father being drunk is, like, obviously the lesser of all the evils. It's like, maybe he was doing that to deal with the fact that, you know what I mean, his wife was doing all this stuff to his sons.
Marcus said that he doesn't know if his dad ever knew. It wasn't,
Oh my
but he was like, I'd like to think that he didn't know, but, like... I don't know. Like, it was kind of like it may have been a blind eye situation.
Yeah, I mean,
the father was just abusive and treated them like shit. Like, they were made to fucking sleep in the garage. They had a huge house, and they weren't allowed in a bunch of rooms, and, like, it was very strict. And I guess when the father died, the mother got even stricter when they were in their early 20s.
That is so insane. Like, how... I don't know. How do you have kids and treat them
I know. And I'm wondering, well, if she's a sex
obviously there's got to be something very wrong.
Yeah, well, there was something. I wonder, like, what type of childhood she had, because she was a debutante. Well, I don't know, it really goes into that, but who knows? She could have been sex trafficked herself, and that's what she thinks is, like, normal. Yeah. There has to be some sort of trauma or brain damage of some sorts to fucking do that to your own twin boys.
I know.
Like, that's just, like, unique. You never hear of that.
I know, and to have one of them end up with amnesia on top of it and, like, have, like, this whole other layer to their story is, like, what the heck? Like, no wonder there's a documentary on Netflix.
I know. And Marcus is bitter, too, because he played along with this fantasy, so his mom never got, like, she had the satisfaction of thinking
she died,
not
unscathed,
without consequences. Yes, and that is so fucked up.
Yeah, that is friggin'
It's just crazy to hear, like, Alex, too, questioning shit as he got older and, like, things not adding up, and how he just turned to Marcus, and Marcus told him, nope, don't worry about it, and it just did it blindly.
That they were adults at the time.
Because his consciousness evolved, like, he had, when he woke up, he had, like, the mentality of, like, a 9-year-old, and it quickly evolved, like...
Wow.
Like, yeah, it's kind of, like, the same sort of thing that your consciousness goes through as a child, but he...
in hyperspeed.
Yes, and, like, he had muscle memory of things, like, he would catch on to it. He wouldn't have, like, memory, but his body, he would know how to do it, like riding a bike and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't like a child actually physically, because I think that's another element, like, your consciousness is growing, but also, like, physically, like, when you're a baby, you don't even have kneecaps, like, you don't, like, you don't have the physical
using your body. Like, dance is great for kids for, like, body awareness. That's why I have none.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's wild.
Yeah, it's so interesting that muscle memory, like, can, like, I don't know, can carry through to that, too. Because I think of muscle memory in the sense of, like, oh, I didn't work out, so hopefully the next time I work out, it'll be okay because, you know, I have once before. Yeah. But that is just
Well, it's weird to me that, like, you can, like... amnesia, like, you can forget who you are, but, like, you still, like, I don't know, like, know how to speak, and you know how to, like, your, I don't know, it's some sort of, like, executive function is still working. It's not like you're a baby and you're, like, you don't know how to walk and you don't know how to feed yourself, like, you have those muscle memory, sort of.
I wonder if there was any aspect of, like, the brain self-preserving when it chose to only remember Marcus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that is crazy to me. Like, he remembered his identical twin. Like, that is some sort of, like, they were talking about, like, Alex talks about it a lot, like, that twin connection, like, being conjoined. Well, they're not, like, legitimately conjoined, but like, on a conscious level. Yeah, it's like, it's wild. Like, and it made me just think about, like, on a spiritual level, like, identical twins, like, what type of, like, is it, like, one consciousness splitting off into two? Or, like, you think of, like, twin flames, but what about your actual...
Or maybe it was just, like, two souls that made a contract before to, like, to enter, not the same body, but, you know what I mean, very similar vessels, or...
Because they're so very much connected, like, there's, like, that twin, like, telepathy type, like, I don't know what to call
connection.
It. Like, yes.
Or intuition, I guess.
Yes, and, like, stuff like that. Like, that is very unique. Like, twins are, like, very interesting.
Yeah.
beings.
I wish I could ask. I have cousins who are twins, and I wish I could ask them ask them before we came on a little bit more, because they, I think, say that they have a connection and whatever, and it'd just be nice to get, like, an insight on, I don't know, what that's like. Because I have a sister, and, like, I've known her since she was born, but she didn't know me since I was born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. Yeah. It's definitely a whole different dynamic, and especially, like, you're never alone. Like, you're born together. I guess if one of them dies before, but it's, like, normally identical twins are so fucking close, too. Yeah. Like, they're just...
And, like,
two halves of a whole.
I feel like it goes without saying, a lot of people say when their twin passes away, they're never the same. It's like a sibling, I guess, passing away, but it must be... Oof, I can't even imagine, because that is someone that has been a constant in your life.
I know.
You know what I mean? Beyond your parents, beyond anything, that person was there the whole time. Like, that must be a lot.
Yeah. Or just, like, I don't know, you never really are alone. Like, you're never, like, that feeling of, like... I don't know, like, you wouldn't ever experience, like, true loneliness, I don't think. Well, I mean, there's obviously different cases
aspects of, that too. But yeah, you would just always have someone. That's interesting, because, like, there's twins that live in our small town, and they do a lot of things together, and you see them, and they're dressed, and they're adults, and it's like, wow, that is, like, truly, they're twins, like, they're twins. There ain't no friggin' denying they look like, do everything together, like, what a way to live.
I know.
Like, it's not jealousy, but I would definitely be interested in experiencing that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we do at some point in our evolution, or not evolution, but our what's the incarnations? That's the one.
Oh, like, have a twin experience?
Yeah. Because it's something I have actually always, like, when I was a kid, especially because my cousins who were twins were, like, older, so they were cool, so we, like, looked up to them. So I've always thought, like, twins are so cool, and it's always been something that I wanted to experience. Even though I have the sister, so it's not like I grew up alone, which is nice.
Yeah, but I have no biological siblings.
True.
Like, I had step siblings around the age of, like, I think it was, like, 8 or 9.
So you spent the first 8 years of your life as an only child.
And it's different when it's a step sibling, too, because it's, like, we're strangers in the beginning. Like, it's not, like, it took a while to
settle into that dynamic.
Yeah, or, like, the bond to really, like, flourish,
sure.
because there's, like, a step dynamic is completely different in all aspects. Sure. It's, like, something very unique to go through.
Is unique in itself as well.
Yeah, because it's, like, a blended family, because there's 2 different family dynamics that are merging together, so there's obviously going to be a lot of, like, and then tension, conflict,
the parent outside the house on either side, so there's influences there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I was brought up in a
single family dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, like a stereotypical mom, dad, sister, me.
Yeah.
Like, couple siblings. They haven't gotten divorced, no blended family. But, I mean, I'm half, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like, well, there is no real normal family dynamic.
Well, there's no such thing as, like, normal. Normal is what you
want to
perceive, and then when it's kind of weird, because, like, I feel like you go through a phase of, like, thinking your I was saying this earlier, like, you and your family are normal, and then when you start seeing other dynamics, you're like, okay, that's weird because it's not familiar to me, and then I think you also go through, like, phases of saying my family's not normal because of this is what I think is normal. Yes. But in all, it's just a bunch of human social constructs that we're living inside, and it's kind of like a part of, like, it's like that's a part of, like, your de-awakening is being raised by your parents. And then, like, your conditioning comes from your parents, your peers, and then you kind of, like, start to come out of it, and you start to question the things around you. And then at that phase, a lot of the times when you're questioning shit, you're told to shut up and stop questioning and just accept and kind of, like, go with the flow of what's being told to you. And then, if you're lucky enough, you come out on the other side and realize that everything around you is a construct, and there is no absolute with anything, and there's no such thing as normal, and we're all being fucking brainwashed by the media.
Yeah, I think the beauty of humanity is that we are always evolving, and thank the fucking Lord, because as much as there's awful in this world, I do think that there is hope for the future, because we are always sort of realizing and bettering ourselves as a society and as individuals. So it's nice. I don't know. That's a nice thing about media and stuff. Is that
we're on some, like, self-development shit. Heavy. Like, I think that's like, there's so much self-awareness, and I think that comes with, like, being on the internet so young. Like, if you look back at, like, it's just so crazy. It's like a snapshot in time of what you were thinking, or, like, how you were acting, and, like, I don't know. And then you start to realize, like, you are being perceived, and I think, like, that, for me, like, when Instagram took a turn from just, like, posting a picture, like, no fucking filter, just slapping it on there, to, like, taking a million fucking photos, doing the same pose, trying to get that perfect angle, and like it kind of became like a competition because I lost my train of thought.
Because you realized that you're being perceived. And
yes, being perceived.
you're
like
trying to fit into whatever normal was to you, which is silly because it's like...
Or not even like normal, but like better than normal. You're trying to, you're realizing that you're being perceived, so you want to be perceived in a way that...
Yeah, is favorable by
yes.
your peers, basically.
Exactly, and that's why I feel like social media in a whole... Did you see, I didn't watch the whole thing, but like that Bo Burnham guy, like that TikTok fucking...
Oh, no, I didn't. Maybe we should watch that and do an episode.
Yeah.
For our next episode.
That's a good idea. Honestly, we should.
Yeah, I think...
It's like, well, it's like this interview because everyone thinks his songs are like funny, but they're not. They're about like how social media is.
Yeah, I've heard like the snippets on TikTok, and it's like he's obviously getting at something. You know what I mean? Like there's a very clear, a large overlying statement of get the fuck off your media. Like stop.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Especially children when your brains are developing. Oh my goodness, it's a whole different ball game from when we were growing up. Like, it's different because it's so much more... We had no awareness on the internet when we were younger, and I think kids are, like, hyper aware of everything. Like, in their... they're already being brainwashed or, like, made to... I don't know. Like, they're the easiest targets. Like, as a young teenager, you're so fucking insecure as it is, and now you have this whole... you have the world as your stage, and it's just kind of like you're going to become something that you're not. That kind of ties back into like kids in
Child
the
stars.
Yes,
yeah. Sure. It really does. It does. And on that note, I think we're gonna end this episode and go watch some Bo Burnham and hit you with another one, baby. Hopefully you enjoyed this one as much as we did. I think it was pretty bomb.
Yeah, for getting back into it after this long little break that we had. Yeah, but on that note, thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.